All right.
So, hi, and welcome to Minnesota Homeownership's Welcome Home podcast. My name is Bill Gray. This is our third episode. Pretty exciting. Today we're going to take a look at the recently released 2021 State of Hispanic Homeownership Report produced by the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, or NAHREP, as they're called. Joining me are two active members of NAHREP's Twin Cities Chapter, and I'm super happy to have them here. Good friends of ours at the Homeownership Center, Ed Luna and Guille Garza. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
You bet. Ed, let's start with you. You're chapter president this year. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're involved with homeownership professionally.
All right. So I've been in the housing industry on the lending side. I work for executive mortgage brokers, and I'm an independent mortgage broker, and I've been on this side now for the last 15 years. Started with Minnesota Housing, then went into, like I said, private banking. Been doing that the last 15 years. First time, actually, I'm a first generation immigrant. So again, the home ownership side is true and dear to my heart. I mean, that's kind of where it all started for us as a family.
Okay. All right. And we're also very fortunate to have Guille Garza with us today. Guille is a professional realtor and was instrumental, along with you, Ed, in the formation of NAHREP's Twin Cities Chapter. Guille, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then maybe we can talk about how NAHREP's Twin Cities Chapter came to be as well.
Yes, thank you. Well, my name is Guille Garza. I've been a real estate agent for 9 years. I used to work in technology before I became a real estate agent. And I'm with Keller Williams right now. And I met Ed a couple years ago when he still was working in Minnesota Housing.
Yeah.
And he came to my office, and I say, this guy must speak Spanish or something. So we talk, we communicate. 3 years later, he talked about NAHREP.
Yeah, so I happened to be with Minnesota. When I was at Minnesota Housing, one of my perks for doing such great work was to be sent out to one of these national conferences. And I went out to LA, and I think it was like 2015, 2016, was blown away by how many, I mean, there's thousands of successful Latinos at this event. And I was like, wait a minute. Why don't we have this in Minnesota?
Sure.
Why are we not all a part of this? And lo and behold, I came back with these crazy ideas. 2 years later, I was approached, hey, Ed, would you consider starting a chapter? And I was like, you know what? I want to. And first person I talked to was Guille. I was like, Guille, so here's what I'm thinking. And well, lo and behold, fast forward 5 years later, here we are into our fourth year as a chapter.
Well, that's awesome. And it's super fun to work with you guys, and we learn a lot from you every day. Thank you for that. So we want to get into today's topic. So NAHREP, the national NAHREP, has released the 2021 State of Hispanic Home Ownership Report. It's a hefty report. It comes in about 40 pages, and it's a look from a national level, not just Minnesota and not just the Twin Cities. So still a wealth of information on the Latino experience in the homeownership arena, and it's instructive to our work at the Homeownership Center as we continually strive to meet the specific needs and desires of this growing population. So some of the top line takeaways for me here, and I'm gonna read off my little list here. Latinos now make up 18.7% of the U.S. population. In Minnesota, the number's just 6%. But that still represents 345,000 people, and it's up from just 54,000 in 1990, which is really hard for me to wrap my head around. 1990 to me isn't that long ago. So some fast growth there. Another thing that jumped out at me, the homeownership rate for Latinos in the U.S. hit 48.4% in 2021. That is the highest since 2009. And of course, 2009, that was before the ramifications of the housing market crash knocked it down. And then in Minnesota, we know that the ownership rate for Minnesota was 49.5%. That was in 2019. So we're a little bit higher here. And of course, that still compares to 76.9% for white non-Hispanic households. So there's still a 27% gap. And that is what we all work toward trying to reduce is some of that gap between different groups of the population. The report also found that nationwide, 2 of every 5 Latino adults aged 45 and younger who don't currently have a mortgage are mortgage ready. So let's talk about this. What do you two see these numbers telling us?
Well, I can say that it's telling us that Latinos are definitely having a significant impact in the market. That we are no longer, the outlying demographic that's buying homes now. We're definitely in the majority. We're trying to create that stability
wealth.
for us,
Yeah.
and essentially long-term wealth for what's going to be generational wealth for our people. So it all starts with home ownership.
And also, it is good to mention for people that they don't know about NAHREP, one of the missions for NAHREP is sustainable homeownership. So all these numbers come up in this report. It is so important in national, in all the chapters, because it's part of our culture.
Right.
It's part of how we are growing, where we're going, and what we need to do with the Latino community. So what the mission for NAHREP is sustainable homeownership and how we can help to move that gap, to help to close the gap with all these statistics. Then sometimes it's like, wow, it's a lot of people. But in the same way, it's a lot of work to do. In this report, if somebody has the time to read it, has a lot of information about demographic, history, culture,
Yeah.
and how we are moving in this market.
Yeah. Okay. How prepared are Minnesota Latinos when they start their home ownership journey in your experience?
I can attest to how prepared they are. I mean, I can say this. Pre-COVID, in working with the Latino community, it was always, it's tough, but you'd have the folks that would come in with a little bag or a little box full of papers, and they'd ask you to sort through it and figure out what you need and what you don't need. I can say that COVID, if COVID did anything for us, it changed behaviors to the point now where I can easily ask a customer, do you have WhatsApp? And they'll be like, yeah. Do you have Facebook? Yeah. Well, then you can send me everything digitally. So we now have made it easier. I mean, I'm blown away by how quick some of my borrowers now will come in, we'll talk about a loan. I'll send them a text message and be like, look, I need this, and this. And within, an hour, I can generally have most of those docs digitally sent over. So they're definitely more aware of what's needed, more prepared technologically to send it over. And like I said, overall, I mean, I can tell you that as Latinos, we're making an effort to be pre-approved, be ready to go so that we can buy the minute we get a chance.
Right. Competitive market.
It's a very competitive market, so you better have all your ducks in a row.
Right. Well, I also, the report also tells us that the largest buyer segment among 18 to 24-year-olds is the Latino population. And so why is that sometimes the case?
Well, again, I can attest to that because you're talking to first-generation immigrants. So when we first bought our house, my mom and dad, they didn't have the legal status to truly buy here.
Okay.
So you understand that from the firsthand experience. And so now as we move forward and talk about the general population, there are a lot of Latinos, especially households that are multi-generational. They'll have, 2-3 different families living within one household. They're all adults, but let's call it 4 or 5 of the adults don't have papers. So you know what? We start talking about, well, our son's had a job for 2 years. He's been, in high school, moved into college. He's got the job. The minute you see that your kids are getting all their ducks in a row, you then make the effort to try to buy under their name, because in the grand scheme of things, and we've all said it 1,000 times, what we buy, what we have is ultimately left to our kids anyways. So if we can buy the house, stop paying rent, and start creating that generational wealth for our families, well, that's the way it's been done, is it's starting with the kids.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Guille, what do you see here?
Yeah, it is kind of what Ed said. You know, before pandemia, that was a lot of work to do. Basically, our Latino clients, they want to meet with us in the office. They want to talk to us. It is one meeting can be 30 minutes. It is 2 hours because they talk about how they come up here in this country, how hard it is to save money, and especially for those who can apply for the regular loans. So we have the other products like an I-10, and it is totally different. So we
Yes.
have to prepare people. We have to tell them. We have to explain. And what happens with after the COVID, it is like people is more aware to take the phone and listen to you. And that's awesome because before they want to see you and now they are willing to talk to you by phone and you can explain them what is the process, what they need to do, how they get prepared. I mean, before that, they were so desperate. They want the results like by yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's
Don't
not
we
like
all?
that. Yes, all of us. But it is not like that because when Ed and I, we have clients like that. We sometimes, after we hang up with them, he and I, we call it, say, oh my gosh. I mean, do you see this? Do you see that?
Sure.
It is a huge process.
Yeah.
I mean, it is beautiful
Yeah.
working with the Latino community. My 85% of my clients are Latinos, and I think I would not change that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. And what Ed was saying, I mean, the switch, the second generation is coming, and it's so beautiful. We can text so quickly with the kids.
Yeah.
They can send us documents, and then the mom can call us to tell us what house she likes.
Right, right.
I mean, it's a whole family, and it's so important for people who like to work with the Latino communities to understand the culture.
Yeah.
It's not that they can't. They,
Right.
They can. Everybody can work with whoever.
Right.
But the thing is, it's so important to understand our culture. Like, for example, in the pandemic, I have to make 2 or 3 appointments
Yep.
to the same house because mom, uncle, whoever is
Oh,
helping.
right.
And the
all wanna
restrictions
see
were
it.
so
Yeah.
bad. 2 people,
Yeah.
3 alias. And that was like, are you kidding me? I mean, I have to go fast in appointments.
right.
I have to be on track. And then I have to tell them, be on time. We
Right.
only have 10 minutes.
Because then some
15
other people are
minutes.
coming. Yep.
And so, yes, all that information, it is so important because then you go with the kid who is fast. He already know what they want.
Yeah.
But you go with mom and dad and maybe the uncle or the auntie who is supporting them. So there you go.
Yeah.
2 or 3
Very, very cool.
showings.
Good information. So couple things other that I saw the report dig into is affordability, and we know that that's a challenge right now with limited inventory and all that. So the report says in 2021, the median Latino household income, so that's half are above, half are below this number, was $55,000, and that was an 8.5% increase from 2019. So that's actually pretty remarkable. 2019, only a couple of years ago. But the report also found that the median income needed to afford a median-priced home nationally, again, this is nationally, was $68,000. So there's a gap there. Guille, how does this play out in your experience as a realtor?
Well, it is a challenge because we don't have a lot of market right now. We don't have inventory, and being so competitive with the offers that put us in the last place, right? I mean, we always talking to the lenders how we can do better, how we can present our offers in the best interest of the clients without risking them too much. And like right now, the market is pushing us to avoid inspections, with appraisal gaps,
Right.
higher earnest money, and all that stuff. It is hard to make them understand. So that's why part of those points for me is the education that we have. I mean,
right.
how important it is to have the first-time home education.
Work with an advisor. Yep.
Exactly. I mean, I cannot say it enough. How much we need this? How much we need people to know that they need to be educated before then they
Yes.
can purchase a home. And not just to go to the first-time home buyers, but when we trying to do some strategics, trying to win that offer, then you know what I'm talking about.
Right, right.
I mean, it's not like, oh, we have to do this, sign here. No,
Right.
it's not that way.
Yes.
People need to understand what we are doing, how we are doing, and why we are doing it.
Right.
I mean, probably I can ask you, let's do an appraisal gap. It's gonna affect you. It's gonna not. It is. Are you available to do
Right.
it? Right.
Right.
So all those things for me, based in the gross income, it is hard to play with.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why being a national advocating for different policies, it is amazing.
Right.
Because we need a change. We have to make more affordable housing
Right,
for
right.
people.
So I want to reiterate that what we said there. The services of a homeownership advisor, which is what we do, the Homeownership Center, those services are free. The advisor will dig into your own situation, your credit score, your budget, your everything else, and they will help you to navigate this process. There's also the home buyer education, which is amazing. It'll teach you everything about the process from A to Z. And in a competitive environment like this, the more educated you are on what's going on, the better off you are. Your realtor and your lender can know everything about everything, but if you're not following along, it makes it harder. And in a competitive market, that could be the difference. So all of that is available on our website at hocmn.org. And I think it's /buying a home, but it'll be very obvious when you go to that homepage. So let's see here. I also, Guille, you mentioned the how NAHREP Twin Cities is advocating for some changes at the state level as far as the housing shortage goes. Do you guys want to talk about that? Are you the director on NAHREP for Government Affairs?
Yes, I am.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. You want to talk something?
No. Please, you go ahead. Let's talk about what we're doing with government.
Yes, I think that is one of that part has been so important in NAHREP in every state. NAHREP has around 100 chapters around the country and 40,000 members. So all these people around different states, we belong to NAC, the National Advocacy Committee. So that committee focuses on three things: housing inventory, access to credit, and immigration. Obviously, we are more involved in housing inventory and access to credit. What we are doing here in Minnesota. So as a governmental affairs directors, we have a committee, which is can be any lenders, people who from MAR, SPAR, MR. So we are in communication with all those organizations who have governmental affairs committees too. So it is so nice to see how everybody we're trying to unify efforts to do one thing.
Right.
National is so organized. I love this organization. So the mission and how they helping us to grow, it is impressive. Right now, this week is how they call it, housing. Something happens. I'm sorry.
Housing
I
Week,
forget.
maybe at the Capitol, and everybody goes
Something
in
like
and
that.
yeah, the visiting
I'm
thing.
sorry. It's just so new to me. But that one, they did appointments with the senators,
right.
with congressmen
Yep.
in our area to see who is advocating for housing
Yeah.
and how we can meet with them. Right now, it's still Zoom, but
Yep.
that's okay.
Yep.
25 minutes they give it to us. It is so strict. They send us the agenda, who is going to participate, and we just go there, tell your story, tell how we can support the initiative that they have. And one thing so important here, Bill, is like we don't have to be political.
Right.
We don't have to know a lot about people.
Right.
And personally, I'm not a political person.
Yep.
I listen. I know what I'm going to vote for, but I'm not a political person. And that's the beauty of this
Right.
governmental affairs. You just need to know about it
Right.
and see who you're gonna support
Right.
because it is what is gonna affect your community, and that's what we are doing right now in NAHREP, meeting with senators, congressmen, and we're trying to meet with those people to let us know that we are here to help, and anything that they need, they have
Yeah.
to let us know.
Yeah, because this is a problem, and I mean we've been talking about it in Minnesota for years now too. There is a shortage of affordable housing that goes all the way from multi-unit to single family, and the market is not necessarily inclined to fix that. By definition. So what can be done and that kind of thing. And it's great. You mentioned all the other groups. They're working together with a unified agenda. And we're seeing a lot go on there. We should maybe do an episode about that at some point.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
'Cause we get
MAR,
involved in this
SPAR,
as well.
And
Yeah.
MR, they are, all of them are talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
I think it's for us, the lack of inventory is for everybody.
Right.
Well, and when you consider that the median housing price this week, I just heard $375. Isn't that insane? I literally, like in my mind, I'm like, just 2 years ago it was
Right.
$255. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
How did it jump? And,
Right.
and it's funny. You mentioned income too. How Latino income grew by
Yep.
8% from 19 to 21.
Right.
And while it's significant, I also want to pinpoint that inflation has gone up that
Yep.
much. So in reality, have we gone up in income, or are we still just working our way through that and
Right.
figuring it out? Because again, ultimately, that's how we qualify.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that's another issue there. But
No, this all makes sense. One of the things that it makes me think of is, the prices keep going up and up and up. And, is there going to be another downturn? And the conventional wisdom on this is no, because we're not in a situation like we were in last time with shaky financial deals and this kind of thing. And the demand in the last time, in the housing crash, the demand collapsed. That is absolutely not the case this time. So, we get asked that sometimes. That's kind of our answer and the answer of the experts. If you look out there, nobody's expecting that. Is now a time to buy? Is price too high? Is the interest rates too high? Blah, blah, blah. There's, we've talked about this before. There's no real answer to that. It all depends on your situation, what you can afford, and a lower interest makes you afford a higher price. A higher interest makes you afford a lower price. But again, and I'll keep saying this, the homeownership advisors can help you navigate this whole thing. One other thing that jumped out at me in this report was they said that where did this go? They said that the study found that Latinos were more likely to sacrifice on location in exchange for a bigger house than any other demographic. Does that seem like the case here in Minnesota?
I would say so. Yeah. I, as a matter of fact, I'll say that there's communities that are entirely being converted into Latino areas. Big Lake. They're moving a little further out. They want the bigger house. They want the
Right.
bigger yard. Because it's multi-generational families living together. Generally, they're going to have more cars than everybody else. So
Yep.
at that point, you've got and again. Consider the fact that a lot of Latinos are self-employed.
Right.
Again, due to legal status, due to limitations.
Right.
Well, I can sit and wait and work minimum wage, or I can go out and create my own, my own source of income.
Right.
So a lot of these Latinos do so. In doing so, they again not only have commercial vehicles, they now have the personal vehicles.
Yeah.
So, and when you think about where we come from as a culture, again, most Latinos come from a moderately warm culture in one fashion or another. So we like the gardening, we like having,
Why are they here in Minnesota?
You know what I'm saying? Right. So, but and it's funny you say that, but I remember coming here in '92,
Right.
and saying to myself, why am I here? Like, what's and again, you don't want to reflect on it and think about it too much. But the reality is, there's 356,000 Latinos, I think you said,
Yep.
that are homeownerships right now. In the grand scheme of things, if you compare it to the cities like New York, Chicago, where there's millions of them, well, this is why we're here, because
Yeah.
it's less of a competitive edge against, with Latinos, the ones that do speak fluently, the ones that understand the markets,
Right.
the ones that can move around. Well, they've got greater access to more opportunities. So
Right.
again, needless to say, I came here in '92, and I've been here ever since.
And you're staying for a reason.
Staying, well, I'm here as long as I have to.
Yeah.
Almost done with kids.
Well, right. And I will say this is 2022 in April, so it's like 28 degrees outside for some reason. But we'll get through it. It'll be June eventually. Well, that's great. So it is still possible for households on the lower end of the income spectrum to achieve home ownership. We want to make sure that we get that message across. And that's where folks like Guille, as a realtor, with the help of our advisors, can make things happen. So let's shift gears here and talk a little bit about equity. The NAHREP report found that nationwide, Latinos were 81% more likely to be denied for a conventional mortgage than were their non-Latino counterparts. I read this as also more likely to utilize an FHA mortgage, and we can talk a little bit about what that means. They can be easier to qualify for, but they come often with a higher interest rate, and they're sometimes potentially less competitive in the situation where you see multiple offers and that kind of thing. Let's dig into this a little bit. Ed, is conventional better?
It essentially, you want to think that it is, in that the mortgage insurance has a much shorter term. So when you're doing the first-time home buyer products, conventional products, home ready, home possible, those require 3% in down payment for entry-level purchases. They come with minimal mortgage insurance compared to, let's say, FHA. An FHA loan, same type of purchase, is going to require 1.75 origination to get that mortgage insurance going, and then a 0.85 multiplier on the balance of the loan, the rest of the existence of the loan. So essentially, you've got mortgage insurance for 30 years. On a conventional product, you'll have mortgage insurance. It's generally based on credit, so it's rated a little differently, a little cheaper, and it goes away in 10 years.
For that mortgage insurance, can you get rid of that at some point, or do you have to totally refinance?
No, with FHA you can't. You have to
Oh.
refinance 100%.
That's a
FHA
huge deal.
is 30 years of mortgage insurance, 30 years of mortgage insurance. With the conventional product, again, once you believe your house is at 78%, 80% of the value,
Right.
you can generally
That's
call and be
what
like,
I'm
hey, I'm going to have
thinking
an
of.
appraisal
Right.
done, and it goes
rid of it.
away.
Yeah.
But again, you can only do that now with conventional since all the rules changed.
Yeah.
With conventional, again, you generally require slightly higher credit. So on average, 640 credit score to get into a conventional loan. The only difference there between that and the FHA products is, again, FHA is government backed, so it's going to have a slightly lower interest rate. When you get into the conventional side, again, higher interest rate, but reduced mortgage insurance. In the grand,
So I had it backwards, maybe. Okay.
yeah. So in the grand scheme of things, and people talk about, is it still a good time to buy? Is it still a great time to get into it? And I'll say, look, if the inventory rules are changing now because there's less people buying because interest rates are going up, and you can still get into a home and afford a home, by all means do so twice on Tuesday, because again, at any given moment, the minute you purchase the home, you're starting to build equity.
Right.
As opposed to if you keep paying rent, that's just this money out the window.
Yep.
Again, now the beauty is, but rates are a little higher right now. Yeah, okay. Well, in a year or 2, 3 years, when they come back down again, because everything in the mortgage industry, everything in the financial sector is in cycles. So at one point or another, what comes up has to come back down.
Right.
Rates will eventually come back down. The fact that you got in are building equity changes your position so that, call it, if it's 3 years, 5 years, or 6 years down the road, when rates drop again, well, now you've got built-in equity. You've got the possibility of refinancing your loan and getting into something completely different, upgrading, converting that property into an income-generating property. Again, it's all about perspectives at that point and changing it up. Seeing it from a different light so that, again, and sad but true, but this is also how most Hispanics build generational wealth. Again, it's getting your foot in the door, buying a home so that you can start creating that equity, so
Right.
that eventually that's what you pass on. So again,
Right.
it's good all the way around.
Right. And I want to make the point that part of the homeownership advising is working on credit scores, and you guys know our friend Trent. He's a banker as well, and he is a big advocate for improving that credit score, even if you could qualify with what you got now, because it gives you more choices. It gives you maybe the ability to do conventional instead of FHA, and our advisors can walk you through how to do that. So another plug for that, I suppose. Ed, let's talk about some of these non-QM products. And I will say, as far as the ITIN loan goes, you mentioned this. ITIN is Individual Taxpayer Identification Number. This is a growing there's growing demand for this product in Minnesota, and the Homeownership Center is about to release a report on what it is, where it's available, how it works, all that kind of stuff, probably next month. I'm looking forward to it. But anyways, talk about that a little bit, Ed, will you?
Yeah, for sure. So let's ITIN products are, again, independent individual tax ID number, and basically what that is another number instead of a social security number. They give you that, and then you can build credit and use that to purchase a home. So
They use that because you're paying taxes, even though
Correct,
you don't
sir.
have a social security
even though
number.
you don't have a social security number, you're still paying taxes every year. You're filing taxes under that number, and creating credit with that number, ultimately allowing you to use that number to purchase a home. There are banks right now that are doing non-QM loans, these a variety of products that, again, are designed to let folks who otherwise couldn't come in and purchase. They vary anywhere from 10 to 25% down payments. Talking about credit again, the higher the credit score, the better the terms. So again, even if you're just slightly below 700, well, it behooves you to improve that credit score,
Right.
because now you're going to get a lower interest rate. You're going
Right.
to get better terms. You're going to get a less of a down payment that's required.
Right.
So again, it's all designed to work that way. So again, ITIN loans, they're now the bank statement loans that are coming back out, 12-month, 24-month DSCR loans that are, again, designed for investors, to again be able to qualify for a home and get in on stuff.
So the takeaway, there's people out there that can help, even if your situation is so different than that you think maybe you can't pull it off. Reach out to us. We can help you figure it out. So this is a lot of information, certainly helpful to me and my colleagues at the center as we continue to work toward homeownership equity. If you're interested in exploring homeownership for your own household, you can enlist the help of an advisor for free by going to hocmn.org. And we'll help you get mortgage ready. We'll educate you on the buying process from A to Z, and we'll connect you with good people like Ed and Guille. And I think that's it for this episode. So I want to thank you guys, Ed and Guille. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Join us next time when we'll be talking about Home Ownership Month, which is coming up in June. We'll get that episode up in May, so you get a head start. Our network of advisors always has fun in June with community events, free education classes. You won't want to miss this heads up on all the opportunities out there. As we close, I want to acknowledge our sponsors for this initiative, for this podcast initiative: Associated Bank, Midwest One Bank, Old National Bank. Our sincere thanks to each of these organizations for their support. And that's it. Thanks. Have a great week.
Thank you.
This is great. I said week again. I always say week.